Cold. Oh, cold. It was a cryo chamber. Do you remember from the last? Yeah. Well, this isn't episode 11. That's because after publishing episode 10, I realized that I conducted a pretty shitty interview and left listeners with very little to go on as far as who Meredith Elrod is. So I'm here to fix that. So we're back for round 2 with Meredith Elrod, a former cruise ship performer turned wardrobe technician turned Las Vegas animal champion. I could have just re-recorded the episode and replaced it, but I'd rather have the original as a reminder to myself to conduct better interviews. Let's go! That's why I can't use Facebook. I'm a boomer when it comes to Facebook.
I was going to say you're a boomer for sure if that's the case.
Every time I go back to it, it's an entirely different UI. Mm-hmm. Everything's in a different spot. There's like settings within settings.
Yeah, it is a bit insane now.
And my thumbs get fatter and wider
with
every passing year.
Well, you know, our ears and our noses keep growing. Do you think our thumbs keep growing?
This is going to be episode 10.5, Redhead Redemption 2. Ask your wife better questions, you narcissist. Valentine's edition. We made it to my comeuppance episode. This is technically still episode 10, but I used like the transition sound design thing for this, which means it's canon.
Got it.
And this half of the episode is even more important than the first half of 10 because I fucked up, ladies and gentlemen. Because I took my wife for granted, folks, and I gave the worst interview of all time to the person that deserves the best. That's why it's Valentine's edition. Yeah, we just kind of hung out,
it was pretty fun.
And look, I'll lean on that fact that hey, it's easy to hang out with you.
You're a fun hang. What can I say?
Hey, you ditto. Meredith Elrod is my guest today on this proper half of episode 10. Meredith Elrod is a dancer who had a cruise ship career that lasted over a decade and has been in the business even longer, before finally moving to Vegas and giving in to her addiction to animals and becoming the volunteer coordinator for the Nevada SPCA.
Yeah.
Completely different set of skills.
You having a hard time?
Yes.
Cut this part
thing
out.
Freezes sideways.
So you said all you did was say my...
So old. I'm the oldest person... I'm reading this as I go.
I like it.
Some of it's not. So, okay, I was just going to comment on the first half of the garbage interview that I gave you before. This filth that I've created will remain on the internet as a warning to my future self to not half-ass it when it comes to asking for people's time. Mainly my guests, but also my audience. People who would actually spend time listening to this. So, please forgive me. That's our show. Okay, thanks for tuning in. That's it. The world wasn't ready for Meredith Elrod, who would clog her way into our hearts.
Because I was a clogger.
Yeah, so you clogged when you were a kid.
Yes.
And what is that? So, like, I think any reasonable person who isn't in the dancing community would think of wooden clogs, like little Dutch clogs.
Yeah, definitely not that. So it's
not that.
A tap shoe, you know, in a tap shoe, it's... it's not loose, whereas a clogging shoe, the top tap is loose, therefore it creates a different sound.
Okay.
So
same exact shoe, just different sounding tap shoe.
Kind of, yeah. Pretty much same exact shoe, just looser taps on there, which makes a huge difference in sound. And then clogging just, I don't know, it kind of, I think is more of a, I don't know, I hope I don't get this wrong, is more Southern thing than anything. I mean, a lot of people would clog, but it's kind of more of a Southern thing, and it started out when they used to hoedown back in the day, and it's literally called hoedown. There's like a hoedown section that you can do as well. You can compete in hoedown section.
You're a little hoedown.
But that's how it starts. But it evolved to many different levels. So they have a Broadway version of clogging, and it's no different any other dance you're doing. They just have different.
So it's like a genre.
Yeah, we always did like things like pop songs and dance and stuff like that. So I danced like NSYNC. And stuff like that,
that's
clogging,
cool.
and and it's so super, super funny. But we did a Michael Jackson theme one, and there's like 3 or 4 different songs in it. I was so proud of it, and it was my senior year of high school, and we were the I think you were junior national dance champs for that year. So it was a big deal, and it was to the Michael Jackson song. So I've always been proud of that because we were actual national championship.
Yeah.
I was on a clogging team.
That's what I mean.
National
Like,
champions.
you don't.
And they still kept going even after I left, because when I went to ships, the team went on to do so many more things. They were on the show that Jabberwockies were found out. I can't think of the name. America's Best Dance Crew. They went on like the 4th or 5th season of America's Best Dance Crew and revolutionized what you thought of breakdancing and then clogging. They did it was interesting. It was an interesting concept. Huh?
We just saw them over the break.
We did Jabberwockies. But anyways, no, clogging's definitely more a southern thing probably. But just I don't think I know many places out this way to do it.
That's a good segue because
I think at least.
A lot of people have their kids be in soccer or band or ballet or theater. You're dancing. You're doing everything. You're like serious about it.
Yes.
You and your sister.
Yeah, we both did everything.
And now your niece, which is pretty cool.
We took everything, and she takes everything. She takes a lot of different things as she gets older. We've always taken 8 to 10 kind of genres of dance, whether that be contemporary, modern, ballet, even a technique class.
And that's
then
like
of course
your 8
tap
counts
clogging
and
and
not 8 counts, your positions are
all that technique is so
important.
important.
Sound like I knew
you do sound good.
You know you got
your positions there that you
plugs.
do. Yeah, you do them positions. But yeah,
you got your first, you got your second.
Yeah, that's right. You got third, fourth, and fifth.
Third, fourth, and fifth.
And then you're gonna want to do a port de bras.
Do some bar work.
So yeah, we did all kinds of different kinds, but and Lindsay did too, and Harlan is doing the same.
And you're winning all these competitions. So yeah, you did it. You meant it. You went into it and you went full tilt from a very young age.
I knew at 10 I was going to dance.
You're like, I'm going to do this or nothing else at all.
I figured it out at 10. I think Lindsay was similar, but I figured it out around 10 that I knew that that's all I cared about doing was I was going to be a dancer. I don't care how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to be a dancer.
Yep.
I spent all of school just getting through it.
Well, and then so you found opportunity on a cruise ship. Yep. You spent 11 years there.
Followed my sister.
You followed your sister.
I usually follow my sister everywhere. It's her like doing everything and me just like, hey, I'm gonna be there too, okay? Like, bless her heart.
I think she wouldn't have it any other way.
I'm following her like crazy.
If I know her. So yeah, you were bringing out ships. You were doing inaugural.
I did one inaugural and then 2 like.
I never did that. Well, I did 6 years on a ship. I never
did 3 inaugural total, but 1 was like a brand new ship. The other 2 were like installs. But it's just. And
you were right away. You were doing. Wasn't that like your Which contract was that? You did an inaugural for the first time.
Well, the inaugural we did the Fascination, and then I did 2 back-to-back. I did the Fascination and the Inspiration ship installs, which are considered inaugurals, but not quite. And then the real inaugural, though, was the big deal was the Dream. Yeah. In 2009, Kathy Thomas called me. I was in Key West. I'll never forget it in my entire life.
Yeah, can we just...
It was such a big deal.
We'll try to encapsulate all of the cruise ship questions because I want to move on to everything else. But try to encapsulate that with the Dream contract.
Like maybe. What it was?
Well, just go... like because there's a lot of stuff happened to you. There was a lot of shit. A lot of bullshit happened to you. You really badly sprained both of your ankles at the same time.
Yeah.
By
5 days into that. Sorry.
Landing on like
in between a mat and a trampoline.
Like if you want to just skip this part, it's fine. Hit the little 15-second thing twice or something. But you were on a trampoline and you came down
right in between, like, so real professional gymnastic mat type things. They have where they practice and they use the trampoline and it falls off into like a little mat. And I managed to I got to the very edge and jumped up. And when I came down, my feet slipped between the mat and the trampoline and rolled out. And I remember I sat up and laughed because I was like, oh, this is hilarious. I can't believe I just did that. And then I felt the pain rush from my ankles all the way up to my head.
How long was that, like, from the
Within
point of...
Seconds.
But
it went from being...
There was this moment where you just were like, what a...
For 2 seconds. My God, the pain. For 2 seconds, I was fine. And then it just... It shot up like I've never felt in my entire life. The pain went straight to my head because I almost passed out. And Miss Stables, Carrie freaking Stables, the most amazing ever. She shoved my head between my legs so I wouldn't pass out right there in front of everybody. And then immediately...
She's a woman of action.
Both my ankles swelled, but my left one swelled to a point where it looked like it was the size of a kneecap on the side of my ankle. It looked like a kneecap-sized bump.
Cankles.
And so that was 5 days into this inaugural, which was supposed to be like the new, most amazing thing to ever happen to me, ever. Was to bring out a brand new ship.
Is during rehearsals
and 5 days into it. Yeah, well, we had about a month on land. Yeah. You always do about a month and a half on land. And so I did it 5 days in, and
the psychological toll of that.
It was hard.
It's wow.
went to the doctor. Obviously, they were like, yeah. He goes, the term he used was severely sprained. So I didn't just sprain it. He like looked at it and he was like, this is so unbelievably severe. He was like, I remember the guy would tell me, he's like, I really hope you make it to your opening. He was like, but I'm going to be honest with you. This looks pretty bad. I don't know if you're going to make it because of how bad it was. And so easily they could have sent me home. I would imagine most people prior, I don't know why. I still to this day don't know why I got lucky, but I know Miss Stables and Claire Hardy and all them were part of discussing keeping me on board because it's an inaugural. They need the body to be in that place. So now I'm not in there. So that I'm still to this day baffled they didn't send me home, and that would have been it.
What do you think the reason was?
I don't know. I'm hoping they knew I was a good team player.
Yeah, this is
I'm hoping they knew I was a good team player.
What I'm getting at is like because it would be uncharismatic for you to say it yourself. So I'll just say it. I think it's because you were so amazing that. And
I hope so.
The fact that there was enough of a time frame where it's like she can heal within this amount,
exactly,
that it's still worth it to keep her here because
which is still a big deal.
But like that's how many people are lined up for that job.
There was tons of people they could have had. There were so many people.
That's really really impressive.
I don't know how to. Yeah,
you reached levels of professionalism in your dance career that I never reached with my music career.
That's very nice, Andy. I don't know about that.
Really,
but
like truly, like I wasn't being asked to go out on inaugurals. I wasn't. You know what I mean? Like you have an impact on people. Anyway,
I got very lucky. I sat in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and there's an element of luck, but that's amazing that they had you. Now, yes,
but then I was in a wheelchair.
You were in a wheelchair in rehearsals.
They were learning the shows from the wheelchair.
It was like Degrassi High.
Yeah, seriously, and it was. You know what's also cool is I had a really amazing cast. Like and that was the other thing I got lucky with. Not only did I get to bring out a ship, I lucked out with such amazing people, including, and then we had the dancing and the street show. We had the B-boys.
The best of the best. They all asked.
But everybody was and everybody. The thing is they were all amazing people. Like it was crazy to like kind of look around and go, oh wow, these are all like badass, like nice people that also deserve to be here. Yeah. Like that first day of rehearsal was the most intimidating first day of rehearsal I've ever had in my entire life. I literally, for a second, was like, I don't know if they got it right. I might not I might not need to be here.
That's called imposter
Some of those girls and stuff. I mean, Amanda freaking Lundgren, I'll still to this day look at her. I will always look up to my girl because there's nobody who can dance. Ooh, girl,
Mrs.
She is
episode
fierce.
1.
But anyway, so like I got people like that to put in my life that I got to look up to while doing it. That was what was even cooler is I looked around and went, okay, got a lot to learn. It was very exciting. That's what made it depressing when I busted my ankles. I'm like, I finally made it. And I met these great people. And now I'm going to go home. I literally knew it. I was like, I'm going home. That's it. And then it just worked out. They said, well, Miss Stables was like, we're going to give you a wheelchair. And we're going to see how it goes. And I did, and I learned it.
You just like adapted to this life in a wheelchair really quick, where like you have all these stories of
I have
the jokes.
Amanda pushing me around a mall, and then she's like, "We're going to the mall. We're gonna have fun. You're not gonna be depressed." And we're gonna push you around your stupid stroller.
It's straight up Degrassi.
Did. Yeah,
Degrassi cruise ship edition.
The whole cast made sure I was included. Nobody ever left me out. They could have easily done that.
Those are adorable.
They never left me out. Everybody always made me feel included, and they could have forgotten about me, to be honest, because I was going to therapy 3 days a week, so I was missing rehearsals.
Physical therapy.
I was missing. I was missing.
I wouldn't blame you for going to therapy.
That was what was also scary. Well, I had to write, but I was going to physical therapy 3 days a week, which means I was missing 2 to 4 hours sometimes, because I was depending on a car ride from a Carnival employee, and sometimes I would have to wait on others to pick up and leave. So because it wasn't just me, because there were other people that were. So I could be sometimes hours later than I was supposed to get back. And the amount of choreography and fun times I had missed were ridiculous. But that was what was tough is I was like, I missed out on so many things as far as that goes. But nobody ever made me feel that way. I was always from day one, it was a great group. I got super lucky.
Nothing but better times after that, I hope.
Oh my God. Well, then I got to stay.
Well, and then
I used to wrap my ankles up in gaffer tape during rehearsals. I would get gaffer tape, and is that what it's called, gaffer tape?
Yeah, the black
tape.
Yeah.
I would all the sound guys, all the backstage guys were my friends, and I went to Marco Chan and like a few of the other backstage guys every day, and I was like, "Can I use your gaff tape?" And then by the end of it, they would just see me in the morning, give it to me, and walk off. And that's how I got through rehearsals.
Little family,
and I didn't wear heels. I did not wear heels. Usually, you practice in heels leading up to it to make sure you're ready for the choreography. I did not put heels on until rehearsals from the night of our opening night, and that was the first time I felt what it was like to dance in heels for the first time in 3 months.
Well, I can't believe you'd ever put on heels ever again, let alone.
I went 3 months, and then rehearsals before we opened shows, I put them on and just hope for the best.
Jesus.
And it went well, though.
That's nuts.
We opened that night, and it went well. I got lucky.
That's me breaking all my teeth, breaking my lips somehow, having them heal over 2 months, and then just hoping it goes well on opening night.
On opening night. Yeah.
You're a maverick. You're crazy.
Nothing. It's not. Well, it's my day. When it came to dancing, that's how I felt. Nothing's gonna get in my way. Damn it! I'm gonna. I will be successful, and I will do this, even though it was the most depressing.
Stubborn people, aren't we?
It was. Yeah, it was so depressing to go through it.
I know, baby.
It was awful.
I'll tell you one thing.
It was embarrassing too.
Knowing all that, everyone listening, up to this point, that me and Eric from episode 1, we meet both Meredith and Amanda.
The year, 2011, 2 years later.
Was it the year after?
2 years after. So me and Amanda met in 2009. We did the Dream back to back, and then for our next contract, she said, "Where are you going?" And she wrote the same ships down, and we both put that we were going to be together no matter what ship. So when we got hired,
oh my God, I
Simon called me. I miss Simon, the dance the dance manager at the time over all the ships and everybody. And he was like, "Hey, you put the Splendor down. Wanted to invite you to go to the ship. This starts this time. And I was like, "Oh my God, great!" And I said to him, "When is Amanda coming?" Like what's what I said about Simon. Like, "Is Amanda at the ship? Like, can you tell me?" And he was like, "Yes, I'm calling her next." Like in the most like annoyed he was being funny on purpose, but being so annoyed because knowing like, "Oh my God, you girls are so ridiculous." Yes, I'm calling her. Yeah, but he literally goes, "Yes, Meredith, I'm calling her next. Do you accept the contract?" And I was like, "Yes, as long as Amanda's going." And then when he called her, the first thing out of her mouth after he asked if she wanted to go, she said, "Is Meredith going?" And he said, "Oh my God, yes, that's who I just got off the phone with." So then that's how we did 3 contracts in a row together. Leaving each other was the hardest ever. Oh. But that's when we met you guys in 2011.
Yeah, and then we all met
our future husbands.
Time. You met your future husbands all at the same time.
Together.
On the same ship, and we had a blast.
We're cute as shit. So I guess it's safe to say we're obsessed with Amanda and Eric for life.
Yeah, and now Amanda's the only one who hasn't been on the podcast. So
she's got to get on the podcast. Yeah, and she's doing well.
Not necessarily next, but whenever you can.
She's kicking butt with her career, so you're definitely going to want to interview that girl.
We got a lot to catch up the world on.
So yeah, let's go to Italy.
We got to go to Italy.
I got to take you to Italy. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I have never. Yeah,
you got to take P and Papa and all our parents to Italy.
Papa and Mima and Seesaw and Hulu. How many surgeries have you had since
for my back?
Well, all of it. You sprained, but let me just list off a couple and see what I'm missing. Double sprain, really bad sprain, on the ankles.
A blood clot.
Blood clot that led to you getting a bone removed.
Correct.
One of
my ribs.
Near your collarbone.
We have ribs. Yeah, near our collarbone had shifted over time and blocked it closed to where I had a big fat red arm that was about 2 inches big.
Just move around.
Well, and if you remember, we were on the last.
That blew my mind.
We were on the last week of opening shows. We were doing Vroom, the hardest show because of not the hardest show because the beat was, but hardest for changes. And I remember being in the 70 section, walking out, and I had this living my best life still, nonetheless. And I had my hand up just to keep the numbness. Woman. I had to pull the only way because it say numb, and the only way it would go away was when I lifted my arm up. So I can remember the curtains sitting right in front of the curtains with my arm up going, "All right, here we go." And then as soon as the curtains opening, going right into action, but then immediately going numb. Just dancing like that for 6 days.
And you had the way you describe it is you're in rehearsal and you were like, "Joe, is this normal?"
Ben,
and you hold up your hand, it's a giant Mickey Mouse.
So it was actually Ben and Lauren Perez. Ben Turner, my beautiful boy, which I hope Christopher would, if they listen to this, he can tell Ben I'm talking about him. But we were doing the finale of Vroom, and those who know Vroom, it's We Will Rock You. It's a Queen finale. It's the most badass thing ever. Minnie Madden's amazing. And Minnie Madden's a choreographer. But anyways, we were sitting there doing the finale, and I kept feeling my arm go numb. And then I was like, God, it feels weird. It feels like there's not blood going to it, but whatever. And I just kept dancing. And then Joe was in the middle of talking, and I looked at Ben and whispered and made sure he could see my face, obviously, because he's deaf. So I was like looking at him, and I said, does my arm look normal? And Ben opened his eyes really wide, and then he tapped Lauren Perez and said, Lauren, look. And Lauren looked at it, and I said, does it look weird? And she also then opened her eyes really wide, and she goes, Meredith, something's wrong with your arm for sure. So then that's what happened is I then raised that arm, and I looked at Joe, and I said, does my arm look weird? In the middle of him talking about choreography, I interrupted him to go, does my arm look weird?
Glad you
and
did.
Joe DeDuca also... I'll never forget his face. And he goes, you have to go to the infirmary now. Go now. And he didn't panic, like freaking out, but he was
very serious.
He was very serious about it. And so anyways, but nobody knew what it was. And if you remember, they told me it could be a spider bite, or they thought I was having an allergic reaction.
They threw in cancer, I think.
And they threw in cancer at one point.
Like, might be.
And you were really mad about that when I told you about that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That we got
it was 6 days later I found out I had the clot.
Let's just make a little stew out of all the fucking fucked up shit.
So then I got it. Then I went to the doctor, got the blood clot out.
Of worry.
Found out it was a bone. So then finished the contract and then went home, and that was one of our longest breaks. But it was
a bone that was like pressing into your blood
vessel.
It
had shifted. They see this kind of thing in dancers, tennis players, swimmers, anybody that the doctor said, anybody with full range of motion doing things. Like think about swimmers, their hands come all the way over for the butterfly, like the way they swim.
So PSA, move less. Everyone should be moving less.
Because I have full range of motion all the time. Causes, and it's a rib, but it's a rib up by my collarbone that had shifted, and it pinched the blood vein closed.
So I said rib, and I thought of your
everybody,
ribs, like down
all
here,
of us.
But apparently you have little tiny ribs that are
It's trust me.
I learned a lot about
it's called
vertebrae and shit.
I know it's called the surgery is called a first rib resection.
Okay,
that's the name of the surgery. That's when I have to write down how many different. So then that wasn't my back stuff. Then I hurt my back when we went to the Liberty. When it first started. Was on the Liberty was pretty much the beginning of my end, because I knew it was going to be a problem from there on out. I always knew it. And then I spent the next 6 years. You also were a big factor in keeping me going as far as helping me with icing and helping with all of that. But I definitely knew it was time to go when we were going.
And I just want to reiterate to everyone, because this sounds, up until now, it's like, well, there's maybe some people going, Gotta take better care. Gotta do stretches. Gotta do icing. Meredith did
all of those things.
The most diligent about all of that.
Yes.
More so than any, and she would even be talking to the younger dancers, like the new people, just like start icing.
Start taking care of yourself, making sure
you have to rest.
I definitely didn't do that. I was 100%.
Well, you did after the injuries.
Well, the first 5.5 years of my career, I was go. I had maybe a month off here and there, and people think, oh, a month, that's a lot. But for a performer, I mean, it is a lot, don't get me wrong. But for a performer, sometimes having that much time off, you would still be having to work out and stay in shape.
Yeah.
But as far as like putting your body through, because you put your body through 6 to 10 months of doing, depending on your ship, you could be doing 5 to 6 shows a week. Yeah, you're athletes, and you're doing them. So you're moving and doing the same things over and over again, which yes, your body gets used to, but that's what a back problem is. A problem is because it's constant beating down. So if I was just beating it into the ground for the next 6 years, it's just wear and tear. So by the end of it, it's like I had done enough tear. I need to like
parts.
stop. Yeah. So by the end of it, it was like, if I don't stop though, I don't know if I'm gonna. I might really mess myself up. That was what I was always worried. I didn't want any injury taking me out. So I made the call. I made the right call. Because then you and I moved here, and it still got worse. So.
Well, there you go.
Like moving here the back problem.
No, I'm saying the back. Yeah, no.
Just making sure.
Sorry, I want to, but it's good because we make sure that people listening are hearing the same thing.
It was just the back problems. Because then I don't know how many you really the question you asked that got us here was how many surgeries have you had?
Surgeries, yeah.
And I probably have done 4 to 5 a year since we moved here, since 2016, 2017. So let's start 2017 is when all the doctors finally started getting better, and we started getting down to what it was. So since 2017, I've probably had 3 to 5.
And we're talking like you have to be knocked out for these
outpatient
things.
surgeries and stuff like
surgeries.
I've had a couple, even though they're outpatient, I wasn't
yeah.
completely knocked out. For the most part, I have been, but there were a couple where they only kind of put me under, so I could still feel the pressure and stuff.
Well, so what are we at, like 15, 20 surgeries by now, just for your back?
Probably.
So if you see my wife, just be nice to her. She's had a lot of surgeries on her back.
I live in pain.
Some people live in pain a lot.
Yeah. I don't regret my decisions, but I definitely am paying for it. I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think having somebody going into dancing and hearing someone talk about that is good, because that's not always going to be the first thing they hear.
No.
They're going to talk about how
I do wish I had
was
more people tell me that stuff
and
growing
all
up.
that stuff, but like, it's like educate on preservation and like longevity and
I don't feel like I learned a lot of that growing up.
I think it's out there, but I think it's probably not as taught as just like be a good dancer, right? And
well, it's
like,
just it is very much in the dancer world. The show must go on. So
they're really, and there's that factor.
You really
too.
have to be really bad not to do it. If a dancer truly makes a call saying I can't do it, then we pretty much always knew that they had truly weighed out every option. And tonight they had to absolutely call out because they couldn't push through anymore. Most performers, that's the only downfall to us, is we do push through things when we shouldn't, and we can make it worse, and we're very stubborn. We're athletes. We wait until it's just dire, and then you always knew when a dancer called out it was dire for the most part. I mean, I definitely work with some of those shady ones every now and then, but yeah, that was the only thing is you knew when a reblock was happening, you trusted that the dancer was like, nope, I actually can't push through tonight.
When you left cruise ships behind,
yes,
we moved to Vegas.
We
already talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about it in the first episode, because I thanked Chelsea Phillips Reed and Bree Schuler for taking me in.
Who just did an episode with our friend Matt Hayes. We all know. See, we should all be part of a podcast.
And Chelsea
network.
Phillips Reed is a badass, and she is the host of Magic Mike. And
she's funny on that podcast.
She's funny.
I'm not, and this
she is so funny.
I know this is looks like a beacon to like, please let's have me on the podcast.
But no, honestly, she is amazing.
But I want to have her on the podcast, and you don't have to have me on yours. It doesn't. That's not what I'm saying.
She's one of the funniest people
she is so
that
funny.
ever walked this earth.
We did that recording thing for the Magic Mike.
Yes, she had. She was saying how. I remember y'all were talking about how much fun you had together.
But she was like, as soon as she walked through the door, she's on, and like, she's
she's genuinely funny.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm fancy,
bro. And she's also an amazing singer and performer. Her and I had the pleasure of working on The Freedom. I was doing the contract with her when I got offered the dream.
Yeah, she
was in the cast that when I found out, and so cool, she was a very big part of.
There's a lot of cruise ship Vegas, import export.
There's tons of us out here.
Yeah, so it's like
that's one of the reasons why you and I picked here too, though. If you remember, because we knew that there were a lot of people out here that we had worked with that we knew were special, and you knew some that I didn't, and vice versa. But I mean, that's one thing my mom always said when we picked this place. She goes, "At least you have an abundance of people to choose from. If you needed help," she was like, "I think any of these people would come help you." Yeah.
If you move to a city cold, it's like that. You have to do all this networking and just get it to where people know you exist.
Whereas here, we already had enough people that if anything, God forbid, we had people to help us. That was another reason why we chose it, though. And then that I got Vegas to show, which was absolutely. I am so happy I got to be part of that show.
Part of Wardrobe when you started.
As part of Wardrobe, but being part of a really awesome show that many people who are doing wonderful things in their careers started out at that show, or not even started, did that show for a while. I mean, that show's had a lot of amazing people come through it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's a piece of tradition in Vegas. And anyway,
so I did Wardrobe.
But no, so the Wardrobe thing was like you had your advantage going into that is that you had been dancer.
Well, I knew quick changes
for 11 years before that.
I knew how to do quick changes. So I had to do minimal sewing.
Their language.
Yep.
You and then now you're on the other side of it, and you have the ability to go between the two worlds effectively.
Yes.
And that's, I think, where
and
you
understand
start
both worlds.
It's the foundation for your management skills, I think.
Yeah.
Is my theory.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about this possibly conflicting with this person over here or whatever.
Not just worry about the dancers. I have to actually worry about Wardrobe, but then I also can worry about
which
them.
One's more important
and understand. I can understand both sides of everything for sure.
Exactly. So it's like you're testing out that part of your brain, and it's like you're good at communicating with people. So,
I definitely found out performers are not always nice. Being in wardrobe,
Well,
we're not so nice people sometimes
too.
to work with performer wise. And I was like, I don't recall ever behaving or talking to anybody though. Not for the most, not that's not all of that's only it's a very minimal part of it.
And
but
that
I still
did
feel
exist on cruise ships
I still
too,
feel I want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is I knew there were some crazy people on
much.
cruise ships, and I knew there were some assholes. Obviously, I didn't really know as much until I became wardrobe, and then I was like, oh man, we are a little shit sometimes.
Well, you weren't. I mean,
I'm sure I was definitely a shit.
No,
I was
but
a performer.
But also, you didn't have wardrobe. There was no wardrobe.
Yeah, we didn't have wardrobe. We did it
ship.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had So
you took care of your own costumes.
So that's what I mean. So now you're doing things for people where they think about it as a given, a precedent, whereas you come from a world where no, we set our own damn clothes up, you know?
Well, and
we wash our own clothes.
And the thing is, most of those performers had also had the same experience. So sometimes it would be hard for a performer to remember to let wardrobe handle things because they would want to do it. And you're like, I get it, but it is my job. So like, don't worry. Like, but you had tons of performers that were like, I'm just used to setting my own stuff. Do you need to be here? And you're like,
interesting.
There was a little bit of both. I guess
that's cool that
to touch on the back. Yeah, I was just saying. I just was surprised. I was like, oh man, I didn't realize we could be turds.
It makes me
until I did the behind the scenes.
It makes me appreciate that the company, has a wardrobe department because it's like, let's help them out and
let's have jobs.
Let's make it so they don't have to worry about that, so they can concentrate on.
And it's good for everybody. There should be somebody worried about the costumes and where everything is and setting it a certain way. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, this is a great job and it paid well. I think that was the important thing too, and things like that. And that was the other pro. At the time, you're like, okay, well, this is well deserved. I can do this. So I mean, it's a little. I got all sides of it. I just didn't realize.
No, but so you transitioned into that side of things. You,
got to work with some really cool people.
Yeah, it's a given that you do the laundry in the household.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that. Just doesn't. It's not on brand.
I do make you hang your shirts on a certain hanger a certain way because of wardrobe.
So let's say this: your experience in wardrobe has made you very particular about hanging clothes and. I was
already like that on ships too, because there were certain hangers I like for certain things.
Yeah.
But became more OCD after doing wardrobe.
If you've ever seen the movie Mommy Dearest,
wire hangers.
The wire hangers. We did wardrobe, and then you left a little bit before the pandemic, right?
I left 6 months before the pandemic. I left 2 years shy of my 4 year. It would have been 4 years. So I left in June of 2019, and August 2nd, 2019 would have been 4 years. I left 2 months shy of that.
Yeah.
I left June 7th, 2019. But I did almost 4. I say 4 years, even though I'm 2 months shy. I just say I did 4 years because
same.
it was awesome.
How dare you pad your resume on my podcast?
It's so cute.
So so you saw and then while you're
but then
doing
I was off for a while. Remember you worked and I was off for a while.
I was just gonna say while you're doing that, I'm at UNLV.
Yeah, working. You're making the books. Sorry, yeah, it was December 2019. I was still off, and Mark Melton reached out and he's like, hey, we're looking for another adoption counselor because he worked there at the time, and he was doing more and more gigs and less there, so they really did need somebody that could be there more. And I wasn't doing anything, so I was like, all right. So I went and interviewed, and it was pretty easy interview. I did it with Laura and Ebony, and it was pretty quick and easy. They asked me a couple of questions, and they're like, okay, we'll let you know. And then I think the next day or that evening, Ebony called me.
That girl is psychotic about animals.
They definitely were like, well, that's when they ask you to. They're like, so
that's
obviously
who we want.
They obviously ask in the interview. They're like, so you like animals? Making sure. Do you have? They like if you have animals because it lets them know that you really are, an animal person. That sounds weird, but kind of almost.
I picture them asking you that in the interview.
Yeah, they actually.
You tear up and start crying in front of them immediately.
Yeah, I'm like,
I love them so much. We have to we'll call the amount of cats we have too many.
I started January 6, 2020 at Nevada SPCA, and then the pandemic happened March 17th, 2020. So I worked for about 3 months there before the whole thing changed for us. And then it changed constantly from month to month for the next 2 years until we actually got into the. Then we changed buildings in the middle of all that.
Stadium now.
Changed buildings in the middle of all that. We're doing numerous events on top of all of those things. It's been a very interesting 3 years at that place for sure. There's been it's been very exciting and eventful. And
there's that word.
I just like the animal part of all of it for sure. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, and
to see animals all day, every day, and watch them go home.
And I mean, talk about pet salesmen over here. Like you don't. They sell themselves.
They sell themselves.
You're gonna be like, you'll know like someone's favorite dog and be like, hey, guess his hair.
It's true.
It's like there's a good chance they're gonna want to adopt that animal. So, yeah.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. But then, you see the bad side of that, which is like
I do.
Animals coming back, animals in really horrible shape that is like you are someone who cries at Sarah McLachlan ads and you chose this job.
It's weird, yeah.
It's
interesting. I was having that conversation with one of my younger volunteers the other day, and because she was saying how she thought about being a vet, and then she changed her mind and said she didn't think she can do it. I was like, you know what? Fair enough. I said, but let me throw this your way. I also didn't think I could do it because I do cry at everything. I do absolutely struggle. I prefer animals to humans any day. Humans are just awful people. And but we're also
the shit you've seen.
The great part of anyway. So, but I used to think that I couldn't do it either. But you kind of like you either learn or you don't. But you learn how to put blinders up, but blinders up in a good way. Like just like, okay, yep, I see it, but let's move on. How are we going to help? How can we move forward? Let's not dwell on how bad it looks. Let's just figure out what we can do. Yeah. So then you kind of start doing that, and you learn it enough to where you can get through it. But there are I do still have. I'm not saying that like I'm strong, so I'm still human. At least once a week, I probably have a moment where I'm like, oh, I lose my faith for a second, or not even that, just get really frustrated with some of the people and situations you encounter. But I'm still there. Like I'm still,
and it's shit that would make
despite
you
all that,
quit. It's
not
exactly. Just like, oh, it was a rough day.
Exactly.
It was like you doubt the goodness of humanity.
Exactly.
It's like that's
exactly
a little heavier than.
And that's why I didn't think. So I was telling that young girl, I was like, I didn't think I could do it either. But I was like, I'm still here, and I was like, and I don't feel like I'm damaged or like, you know what I mean. I don't feel like, what am I doing? It doesn't feel like that. It's like, no, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. This is gonna be hard, but I'm fine. Like I was told, I was like, I was fine. Like I'm okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I told her, I was like, don't let that be. Trying to let that be a factor that you don't know if you could do it, because I didn't think I could, and then I gave it a shot, and here I am 3 years later.
Your ability to deal with shit is strong because of how much you do it.
Well, I think
that's called being tough and being stable and emotionally, sane, I guess.
Yeah.
Mature.
I'm a high functioning, anxious person.
Yeah. That's my style.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, honey, couldn't be a bigger turn on.
Right.
Look how anxious she is. My God.
My God, I love her.
A lot going on under the hood on that one.
Oh, man, it's true. You're like, a lot going on in that brain.
What's going on in that beautiful brain of hers?
Yeah, there's a lot. Oh, sorry, bless your heart. I really feel bad for you.
Mentat. Remembers everything.
Ladies
and gentlemen.
I'm an empath that remembers everything. Yeah, it is.
Won't ever win an argument. Not even going to try. That's why you got to just give up.
Remembers everything. Yeah.
Good advice anyway.
True.
It's one thing when your wife thinks she remembers everything perfectly. It's another thing when she actually does.
I don't think people are going to care about this stuff.
I am a trained curator of interesting dialogue, okay?
I feel like people are going to go, who cares? Like,
no, I care because I came up with now you're insulting me.
Sorry, okay.
So I find you interesting.
Okay.
I put, thank you for being such a good person to me and for helping me deal with pretty severe period of depression recently and many times prior to that. But
we both have many times, honey.
Lately more than...
We both have.
Yeah, so it's... And I'll just say this.
I think the sad thing, I couldn't help you much with it. You're kind of on your own because I was trying to figure my own... I'm still trying to figure out my own depression.
Well, and we support each other and that's what you do.
Yeah.
When you're your best friend... And I was just going to say a transition into a PSA for planet Earth. I'm not saying place all of your happiness on your lover. Don't pass that responsibility to anyone but yourself.
Yeah.
No one is responsible for your own happiness but yourself.
But yourself, yeah.
And
you make your own happiness,
do let people into your lives.
Yeah.
Because it's hard enough to do it alone.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't. I mean, who would want to do it alone? It's already hard enough.
Well, you can't.
It's already hard enough, let alone alone.
Our brains don't work like that. We're social animals and all that. But
I think the fact of the matter is a person in your life's it should never be a necessity. They should be a bonus, which is why you even more so want to make sure that they are heard and you're working on your relationship, because it's a bonus. I don't really need it, but I don't want to lose this is a great bonus. Why would I want to lose this? I've got to figure out how to make this work because this is so great. I could do it on my own, but why would I want to do that when it could be so much more fun?
I get to live with my
somebody.
best friends,
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Who doesn't want to be with their best friend for life? I don't see why that would be.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't think we're like throwing out any hot takes. I don't think that's when shit gets like really hard, like it's you need it.
Yeah.
It's not just that it's a bonus. Like there's certain times when it's a bonus, but like.
You're saying there's some times where it's necessity.
Where if I didn't have you, then it would be really bad. It would be really bad.
Same.
But that's not in a way to put pressure on you. That
no,
you know
I don't feel that way. I don't feel pressure.
So anyway, I'm just saying, in the bad times like that, it's like it just helps. But and we've gotten each other through that shit, and we will continue to do that. I was just gonna say thank you for putting up with all my shit.
Same.
Meredith, end the show however you want. Improvise an ending.
Darling, you send me. I know you send me.
Oh, sorry, I didn't wait long
No,
enough.
you did good. I was trying to go after you.
Okay.
Darling, you send me. Honest you do. Honest you do. Honest you do. Whoa. And he goes,
And that about covers it. In summary and summation, clogging is not just for Dutch people with little wooden shoes. If you're on a trampoline, try to land on your feet and not your ankles. And in the wise words of Bob Barker, have your pets spayed or neutered. Again, if you would like to support the Nevada SPCA, either by volunteering or donating, go to nevadaspca.org. That is going to do it for this episode. I guess I'm going to have to go back to interviewing people I'm not married to. Well, I'm going to take this pogo stick and go to episode 11 now. Goodbye, friends. Okay, yeah, balance.